kind of how you got started working in ceramics?
Well, when I left school at 15, I did shorthand typing and English, and I got a job in a garage office. And I stuck it for 12 months, and I thought, this isn't for me. There was only one other female there, and she was 19. And at that time, 19 and 15, the 19-year-old just hadn't got time for you. You were just... So I thought, oh, I can't be doing this. And fortunately, my sister worked on Beswicks in Longton. And she said, right, leave it with me. And the next thing I know, I'm turning up at Beswicks on a Monday morning to go and be a freehand paintress. And that was it. No interview, no nothing. It was because my sister was already on there. And that was it. And I was there from 1957 to 1969.
Fantastic. Did you then go on to work elsewhere in the pots, or was that your kind of only place where you worked?
No, I finished in 1969 to have our son, and then a daughter followed. And when they both started to school 5 years later, in the infants, I got a part-time job on Port Merion. And I was there for quite a few years, until 76, when we had that lovely summer. And the people in the know decided they didn't want part-time workers. So all the part-time workers had to go. And I ended up then working on a little firm. Nobody really knows about it, called Blakeney Pottery. And everybody just thinks it's the back end of Minton's, but it isn't. It is another factory. And I was there till 1999.
Fantastic, a lot of experience then. So kind of thinking back to your time in the pottery factories, and I know it will differ from factory to factory, but overall, what was the kind of atmosphere like working with colleagues? What kind of a relationship did you have, and what was the atmosphere like?
It was just family. There was no strangers, there was nobody above us, there was nobody below us. We were all together. If one was hurting, we were all hurting. When we were happy, you couldn't hear yourselves think, because we'd be singing top of our voices and dancing around, and we just enjoyed it. You can't really say it was work. You can't say it was work.
Well, that must be a fantastic kind of...
It was a beautiful... you were all somehow connected. Don't ask me how, I don't know, but you were connected.
And what kind of jobs did you do then? Did you mention you were...
I started painting, and then they was asking for people who wanted to have a go at spraying on Beswicks. I went and did that, and I really liked that. And I carried it on when I went to Port Merion, spraying. I carried it on when I went to Blakeney, and then later on, in the years I did at Blakeney, I did a bit of everything. Lithographing, painting, everything. Because that was a case of, such and such a body hasn't turned in. Can you do a bit of this? And you just went and sat and did it. And that was really nice.
And did you feel, when you were creating these fantastic pieces, did you feel it was a creative process and a creative job, and that there was a great deal of creativity involved?
You didn't think about that, you just enjoyed it.
Okay.
You didn't think you were doing anything special. Because we just thought, if we can do it, anybody can do it. You didn't think you'd got a gift or anything like that. It was just oh well, let's have a go with this one then.
And did you, were you paid by piecework?
On Port Merion I was piecework. The other factories we were what they call day rate. So you were set on at so much an hour and that's what you got. If you worked on a Saturday, we got time and a half. So we knew what we were getting.
Did that make it, did you prefer kind of being paid like that to piecework then? Did you have a preference or?
I preferred to be day rate because piecework, if you went in and you were a little bit, that sort of thing in the morning, you got a little bit slapdash and it wasn't the same. So I preferred to enjoy what I was doing and be day rate.
Fantastic. What kind of a relationship did you have? But now we've kind of found, was it mostly women working the roles that you were doing, or was it a split between women and men?
At first it was women, and then later on, in about mid to late 80s, we got, I was on Blakeney then, and we'd got 2 or 3 men coming in to do the glaze spraying. And we used to decorate doing glaze spraying. So when we'd finished it, it was the finished pot, decorated and everything. And they were just a little bit ham-fisted, but they wouldn't have it. They just thought they could do it.
What kind of a relationship did you have then with the other women that worked kind of in the factory? What was the relationship like between you all?
It was good. It was really good. They weren't women as such. They were your sisters. And if you'd got something and they hadn't, you'd all share. And if they couldn't do something you could, you'd do that bit for them and they'd help you doing what they liked doing for you. It was good.
And how important do you think women were to the development of the factories and the, you know, how the factories kind of, how they did and how important were women to the pottery industry then?
For the talent, the women were excellent. But it was always men telling you what to do and when to do it. And we let them think, yes, we were listening, but when they'd gone, we did it our way, and our way was the way they wanted it. But they thought that was what they'd said.
Fantastic. It's interesting you say that then. So kind of when you were working in the pots, what was the relationship like between men and women then? Do you feel as though you were ever treated differently because you were a woman when you were working in the pottery industry?
No, there was none of that because there was ladies' jobs and there was men's jobs. We never questioned it like you would today. You'd be saying, if they are doing the same job as me, I want their money as well. But we never questioned it. It was just a different way of life altogether. Different.
Fantastic. And you worked for a number of years. Obviously, you mentioned you had your time off to have your kids and stuff. But in your time working in the pottery industry, did it change? And if so, what kind of changes were made, maybe to technology or to the way you worked? Did it change as an industry?
Well, being as I finished in 1999, the changes that are about today, technology, weren't in. Yes, there was computers in the offices and tannoy systems and all this, that and the other. We got them, but it didn't interfere. Well, I'm saying interfere. I think the technology now interferes with what the people are trying to do because they can't do the hands-on. They just press a button and it's done. So I don't really know about technology as such, when I was working.
And for you personally, and well, for other people in the industry, were you kind of proud to be a part of it and proud to be involved, that, you know, the pieces you created and stuff, that it was then sent out around the world, or, you know, people used it in their hotels or their houses? Was there a pride associated with it, and if so, did you feel proud to be a part of it?
I do now, but at the time, I didn't think of anything like that. I just thought, well, everybody's got to have a plate, everybody's got to have a cup. It didn't bother me one iota what they thought about it, but now, I appreciate now what I was doing at the time. Because, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
So when you look back, is it with a certain sense of achievement and pride at what you've done?
Yes, yes. Because sometimes you can be on holiday and people will say, so what did you work at? Oh, I was a paintress. Were you? Where was that at? Oh, well, you've only got to say you trained at Beswick's. Oh, and you've got them. Oh, we collect Beswick. Oh, we collect Beswick. Oh, and not so long ago I bought my son this piece of Beswick. You know, the Duke of Edinburgh on that grey horse. Oh, it's so expensive. Well, if one fell off the end of the board when we were doing them, it wasn't no problem. We just shoveled it up and put it in the bin. But, oh, they're so expensive and I can't get to grips with that.
Okay.
Because we could get them for practically pennies. I know the money's changed, but we could get them for pennies in the factory shop, and they were seconds if we were buying them, if we were interested, they were seconds. You didn't know what was wrong with them. People out of the industry didn't know.
True. You, obviously somebody that worked in the pottery industry, you must have been aware of the decline of the pots, as it were, and people losing their jobs and being made redundant. From what you saw, what kind of an effect did it have on the community and people's lives when the factories started to close down and people lost their jobs?
Well, it wasn't so good, because if they were making some people redundant, you were thinking, why are they making them redundant?
Sorry, excuse me. Give us a second. Is that just not noisy, or is that it's not just me, is it?
No.
Was it that door being open? I can't hear anymore. Did you hear music just quite loud?
Yeah, absolutely. It's supposed to be like doing a back sound, is it not for you? Oh, it's gone now.
We'll carry on. Before it's not getting noisy again. Sorry, Dorothy.
It's okay.
The call is finished, by the way. You've been some excellent answers. Thank you. Still well?
Yeah.
So, Dorothy, sorry, I'll just do that question again. What kind of an impact did it have on people's lives when the pottery factory started to close?
It wasn't so nice, because it was a case of, fancy making them redundant. I wonder what's going to happen next. But the job was still there. So one of us, or maybe a group of us between us, used to have to pick that job up before we could do ours. And it got us feeling a little bit peeved, because we were doing the job that was still there, and yet they'd made the person redundant who was supposed to be doing it. And it didn't feel the same then. And then you'd go down to 4 days a week, which at first we thought, oh, this is great, we can go away at weekends, oh, this is good. But when it come to 3 days a week, that wasn't so good.
And what kind of an impact do you think it had on kind of communities and people's lives then when the factories are shutting and you know, what were relatively well-paid jobs suddenly weren't there anymore? How did that affect kind of people?
Everybody was sort of on a down. If they weren't fortunate enough to have their own property, then they were frightened where the mortgage was coming from. Because if you'd still got children at school, you couldn't just give up because you'd got your mortgage to pay, and then perhaps one of the children would come in and say, "Oh, I bought me form here. We're supposed to be going away on holiday Monday to Friday to such a place," and then you were thinking, "Oh, how am I going to find the money for that when we're struggling for the mortgage?" So, in one way, I was very fortunate, but I can see where other people were coming from who weren't so fortunate, and perhaps were just starting off. So it was not so good.
Let's give it a sec. I think he'll be finished in 30 seconds. I can see what he's doing. So I've only got one last question anyway. So when you look back on your kind of life working in the industry and everything you've done and everything you've created, how do you kind of feel looking back and what are your kind of reflections upon your life working in the potteries?
I wouldn't change anything. And if I could, I'd go back tomorrow. I would go back tomorrow, but by the time the taxman's had his bit and everything else, it isn't worth it.
Well, yeah.
But if somebody would set the tradespeople back on, I would go tomorrow.
Well, that speaks volumes, I think, for how much you must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Dorothy.
Okay, thank you.
Mind your head.